The leaders don't engage in real discussion. They do not debate this in public. They don't express their views. And, okay, with me, they don't have to, but they don't take on any kind of discussion. One just walked away when I started to make these points. We had an exchange of pleasantries. I expressed the worry about the direction, and I was told that I was barking up the wrong tree. This is not the way that one should behave to keep this world safe. I think what's most worrying for me is the ever-present fear that I have that some accident is going to quickly spiral out of control. What we have are two sides that are, well, especially I would say the Western side, yelling hatred towards Russia, an absolutely astounding, vulgar, crass Russophobia. And I call it that because it's not an attempt at an analytical explanation of what's happening. It's completely dishonest from a historical point of view. It glosses over every single fact that led us to this war, but it's hate speech non-stop. And Trump participated in that. And it is with all the claims of these provocations and all the rest, and the open discussion this week about shooting down Russian planes, the kind of blind rage that can lead to an event, that leads to another event, that leads to another event, with these this hatred and this vituperation already stoked. And then because these leaders are able to command missile systems, they don't need to ask their publics for approval, of which the publics absolutely do not approve of what is happening right now. A devastating war could soon befall us. And if this seems just, kind of being afraid of the rhetoric and so forth, how many wars start with an incident, with an insult, with an accidental or false flag event that triggers a spiral rapidly of escalation? A large number. World War I, the war that destroyed every hope for peace for the next century in its way, started, of course, with an assassination by some young kids of the Archduke of the Habsburg Empire. But one can name countless such cases, and this is what we are walking along in this abyss. We're right at the edge of terrible accidents happening, without diplomacy, without honesty, without reflection, without maturity, without consistency, without guardrails, and we continue to come closer and closer to the edge.
You just heard Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, economist, Columbia professor, and one of the few voices in the Western elite willing to speak truth, deliver a terrifying warning. We are walking along an abyss, right at the edge of terrible accidents happening. And he didn't say it with drama. He said it with fear. Because what we're witnessing isn't just war in Ukraine. It's the collapse of diplomacy, the rise of hate, and the dangerous silence of leaders, all pushing the world closer to a war no one wants but everyone might get. Let's unpack what Sachs said, and why this moment may be the most dangerous since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Sachs begins with a disturbing personal story. He tried to discuss peace with a Western leader. They exchanged pleasantries. He expressed concern about the direction of the war. And then, the leader walked away saying he was barking up the wrong tree. That's not just rudeness. That's the death of diplomacy. Because real leadership means engaging in debate, listening to dissent, facing uncomfortable truths, But today's Western leaders? They don't debate. They don't reflect. They don't even try. They just yell. And when someone like Sachs, a respected global advisor, tries to raise concerns, he's dismissed, silenced, told to shut up. And that silence, more than any missile, is what makes war likely. Because when leaders stop talking, accidents become catastrophes. Then Sachs drops a bombshell. What's most worrying is the ever-present fear that some accident will spiral out of control. And the fuel for that spiral? Rampant Russophobia. Not analysis. Not history. Not strategy. Just blind hatred. He calls it what it is. An absolutely astounding, vulgar, crass Russophobia. And he's right. Listen to the rhetoric. Putin must be removed. Russia is an evil empire. All Russians are complicit. We will make them suffer for generations. This isn't foreign policy. It's hate speech. And it's coming from presidents, media, academia, even religious leaders. Trump joined in. Biden amplifies it. Zelensky weaponizes it. And the result? A public atmosphere so poisoned that any incident, real or false flag, could trigger instant escalation. Because when you've spent years telling people Russia is Hitler reborn, then any provocation feels like World War III starting. And in that environment, there's no room for de-escalation. No off-ramp. No pause. Just reaction. Sachs makes a critical point. These leaders command nuclear-armed missile systems, but they don't need public approval to use them. And the public? They do not approve of what's happening. Polls show. Europeans want peace. Americans oppose endless war. People everywhere fear nuclear conflict. But their voices are ignored. Decisions are made in backrooms. Orders are issued by presidents who believe they can threaten Russian planes, attack strategic bombers, or impose total sanctions, without consequence. And that's the danger. Because one reckless act, a drone strike, a downed jet, a cyber attack, could set off a chain reaction. Event, retaliation, escalation, war. And once that starts, no one can stop it. Sachs reminds us of a brutal historical truth. Most major wars don't start on purpose. They start with an incident. World War I began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, a minor event that spiraled into global catastrophe. The Gulf of Tonkin incident led to full-scale war in Vietnam, based on false intelligence. 9/11 was used to launch 2 decades of war, despite having nothing to do with Iraq. And now, we're seeing the same pattern. Every day the rhetoric gets hotter. Every week new threats are made. Every month more weapons are sent. And all while diplomacy is dead, dialogue is banned, and moderation is called treason. We're not preparing for peace. We're preparing for escalation. And the guardrails? There are none. No honest discussion. No reflection. No consistency. Just blind rage, stoked by leaders who won't listen, won't talk, and won't lead. Sachs ends with a haunting image. We're right at the edge of the abyss. And he's not exaggerating. Because the world has never been more armed, more divided, more hysterical, and less capable of stopping a crisis. Putin has offered peace terms. China calls for negotiation. India urges restraint. But the US and its allies? They scream louder, sanction harder, threaten further. And in doing so, they're not deterring war. They're inviting it. Because history shows, wars don't come from strength. They come from pride, panic, and misjudgment. And we are swimming in all three. In conclusion, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs gives us a rare and unfiltered look at the real danger facing the world today. Not tanks, not drones, not armies, but the absence of reason, the triumph of hate, the silence of leaders, and the terrifying speed with which a small spark could ignite a firestorm. We are not safe. We are not prepared. We are not leading. We are sleepwalking toward disaster. And unless we return to diplomacy, honesty, and maturity, one day we'll wake up to a war we never meant to start. Stay tuned for more analysis right here on The Informed Perspective. Until next time, stay informed and think critically.
We all live on the same planet. It is in everyone's interest at some point to do business, regardless of the various political systems that each country embraces. So I think the notion that somehow or another the Europeans are going to say, you know, you're right. To be successful in Ukraine, which is, of course, an utterly absurd notion anyway, What we need to do now is cut off relations with China, cut ourselves off virtually from the rest of the world, from India, from everyone else, because all of these states are in one way or another doing business with Russia. Turkey is an excellent example. Turk Stream is vitally important to the Turks. They want desperately to have that energy. That energy fuels their industry. They're looking at what has happened in Germany, and they're asking themselves, why would we ever do this? Why would we cut ourselves off from Russia? Do we want to follow Germany down into the hell that Germany has created for itself in this allegedly noble crusade against evil Russia? It's a lot of nonsense. Makes no sense. So I think it's all going to fall apart. And at the same time, of course, we're looking at Europe, and we're seeing all these nationalist parties all over the continent who are effectively coming to power increasingly. That is to say, they're reaching a point in terms of popular support that makes it impossible to keep them from power any longer. And the good news is that the kind of nationalism these states are all espousing has nothing to do with attacking anyone. It has everything to do with what is in the interest of their own country, what's good for their societies. How do they protect themselves, their culture, their identity, their way of life, as well as their economic system? And I think this is the death knell of globalism, frankly. And whether President Trump is